How to make money with the OddsJam screen. That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. So the screen is a very powerful tool. And it's powerful because all of these sports books, right? FanDuel, DraftKings, they try to set odds independently. They try to set lines independently. They all do it themselves. So long story short, as a sharp bettor, you're looking for inefficiencies, right? You're looking for value. You're looking for where FanDuel maybe has a player's rebound line at 4.5 and all the other sports books have them at 5.5, right? FanDuel would be too low. We'd want to take the over. So here you can see the OddsJam screen, and basically any market you want to look at, any sport, is going to be on this screen, millions of odds updating in real time. And all the screen shows you is the entire sports betting market for a given market, right? So for NHL shot on goal lines, all the screen is doing is reading in lines from whatever sports books you select. You can see I currently have 58 selected, and it's showing me not only where the sports book is setting the line. So in this case, for, John Tavares, Prize Picks and Underdog have his line at 3. All the sports books have his line at 3.5, right? But on top of showing you the line, it also shows you the odds, right? So you can see all of the sports books. DraftKings has the under 3.5 shots on goal for John Tavares at -150, FanDuel's at -160, 10 bets at -150. So basically, for a given sports betting market, in this case NHL shots on goal, shows you every possible sports book, where they're setting the line and where they're setting the odds, right? And it's fully customizable, so you can switch around the sports books you see. You can hide sports books, you can move them left, right, you can set colors, you can do all sorts of stuff like that. But basically the way I use the screen, and I'll go to an example right here, is I look for discrepancies, right? As a sharp bettor, you don't wake up in a given day and say, ooh, I'm betting on Patrick Mahomes today, no matter what, right? You follow the line movements. As you can see right here, the screen will show you line movements and will highlight them for you. So you can see on BetRivers and 888 Sport, they actually have the same odds as one another. So it probably makes sense to hide one of these if you wanted to. So, we could hide 888 Sport if we wanted to just see BetRivers. All I'm doing on the screen is I'm looking for value, right? A sharp bettor doesn't wake up and say, oh, no matter what, I'm betting on Patrick Mahomes. The way a sharp bettor thinks is I'm going to look through the market, all these sports books set lines independently, and I'm going to try to find some value. So here, for example, for Luka Doncic, all sports books have his line at 7.5. There's no major discrepancies in the odds. -115, -118, -118, -140. I mean, there's slight differences in the odds from book to book, but nothing major. All books have the line at 7.5. There's no value. So we don't want to touch Luka assists. But hey, take a look at Julius Randle. Here, you can see Prize Picks has Julius Randle's line at 4. Underdog is at 4.5. DraftKings is at 4.5. So is Bet365, FanDuel, 10bet, BetMGM. Pinnacle just locked their markets. So locked is when a sports book removes a market or freezes it so a bettor can't place wagers. So you can basically see where every bookmaker is setting the odds to get a sense of where should this line be set. And you see all the sports books are setting Julius Randle's line at 4.5. There's slight juice towards the under. Prize Picks is different than Underdog, their direct competitor, as well as a bunch of other sports books. So it seems like there's some value on the over 4 rebounds on Prize Picks, right? Prize Picks is at 4. Underdog, their direct competitor, is at 4.5. All of the sports books have Julius Randle's line at 4.5 as well. And there's not a ton of juice towards the under. So it seems like taking the over 4, right? Taking the over 4 rebounds on Prize Picks, Julius Randle assists, I apologize, this is player assists, is a pretty good play. So you can see I actually ended up including this in a Prize Picks slip that I created. And of course, this tool doesn't only work for Prize Picks. You can look for discrepancies on Underdog, DraftKings, any other sports books. It's the same thing, right? As sharp bettors, we're following data, following the market because books set lines independently, and we're looking for value. So a common question I get is, when do I know to take a play, right? So here you can see Tyler Hero, or we can continue going. We can look for another example. Here you can see Zach LaVine, right? Prize Picks and Underdog, they both have his line at 4. All of the sports books have his line at 4.5, but you can see the books have the under 4.5 pretty heavily juiced to around -140, -150. So it's a little bit different than this play on Julius Randle. So if we go back to this play on Julius Randle, where was it? So you can see for Julius Randle, sportsbooks only have the under around -130, -135. Whereas if we go back to this next play, let's just go to Kawhi Leonard, where Prize Picks and Underdog have his line at 4. Here, sportsbooks have the under juice to like -150-ish. So that makes a big difference, right? If Prize Picks and Underdog have the line at 4, there's no differences between Prize Picks and Underdog. These fantasy platforms work slightly different than the sportsbooks. All the books have the line at 4.5, but they have the under pretty heavily favored. Then that makes us like taking the over 4 less. So there's two things you need to consider when using the screen. Not only where is a sportsbook setting the line, you don't only want to, let's say, take Kawhi Leonard over 4 assists on both Prize Picks and Underdog because all the books are at 4.5. You need to consider how much juice is towards the under, right? Or the over. In this case, because we're contemplating hitting the over 4 on Prize Picks or Underdog, we need to consider how juiced is the under 4.5 on the sports books. And you can see they have the under 4.5 pretty heavily favored. So that makes us not want to take the over 4 as much. So you're really looking for big discrepancies. Sometimes there's a lot of value in the market. Sometimes there's none, but you can see another example here, right? Ja Morant, Prize Picks Underdog have his line at 8. A lot of sportsbooks have the line at 7.5, but they have the over heavily favored. And then some sportsbooks, namely FanDuel and BetRivers, have the line at 8.5, but they have the under favored. So it doesn't seem like there's a lot of value in the market. So I say this all the time, but typically when you're using the screen, it should be pretty clear that the play is good, right? Like typically if I'm using it on Prize Picks, I want to see a clear discrepancy between Prize Picks and Underdog. And then I don't want there to be a ton of juice on the sports books, right? Which is kind of what you can see maybe in this play on TJ McConnell. Here, the under 7.5, Pinnacle, some sports books have it juiced to like -150, but most books are only juiced to like -130, -127 on BetRivers. So maybe this over 7, TJ McConnell assists, has some value. Whereas this play on Kyrie, here, we don't like it as much because, again, Prize Picks and Underdog, they have the line at the same level. And all of the sports books have the line at 4.5 or 5.5, it looks like on FanDuel and BetRivers. So it's a little uncertain where the line should be set. Some sports books have the over 4.5 really heavily favored. Other sports books have the under 5.5 favored. So the 5 on Prize Picks and Underdog kind of seems like it's fair, right? Like there's not much value. Whereas Julius Randle, sportsbooks only have the under juice to like -130, -134. We can get over 4. Underdog, their direct competitor, has the line at 4.5. So taking the over 4 seems like pretty good value. You're never going to get a perfect answer when using the screen as to, is this play really good? But if you're using it on Prize Picks or Underdog, I typically look for discrepancies between these two platforms because they work in basically identical ways. And then if you're using it when betting on sports books like FanDuel, DraftKings, again, it should be pretty clear that there's value, right? You're really looking for big discrepancies. If there's marginal discrepancies, then, that's not as attractive. So hopefully this video on the screen was helpful. Any questions you guys have, feel free to let me know. Let's make some money.